and to move against that incline. And it's designed to do that.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing that over time, what you're actually doing, in addition to all the positive things that happen, is you're training your body on how to be strong in situations that are stressful.
Right.
So the more that you walk, and the more that you build muscle, and the more that you take the advice that you're about to give us about what we should specifically be doing as women, fast forward 6 months from now, if you keep doing that, and you're sitting in a stressful meeting at work, the impact of that outside stress on you is going to be way less, because you in your life have been strengthening your body by going to the gym and going for a walk, so that your body can actually be in stressful situations and not get hijacked.
Exactly. So the whole flight or fight response that people talk about with
Yes.
cortisol, we're flighting. We're teaching our body that flight by exercising, and your body's like, this is a stress, I need to understand it, overcome it, get stronger. You can also think about it as the fight response too, because if you're in the gym and you're building the muscle and you're ready to go, coiled up, ready to go, your body's learning that stress. Because we're not an algorithm, we adapt to so many different things. So if situation doesn't like it, so it learns how to overcome that and get stronger in the process. So when as you're explaining it, it's like, yes, it's all about stress resilience. If we're resilient to stress in a meeting, our immune system is also really resilient to stuff that's going around. And we're also resilient enough to maintain a focus if we're getting ready to lose it and our kid goes off. Like, we're not going to break down and start yelling at our partner or our kid because we have this stress resilience. We're able to take that pause.
It makes so much sense. And you've talked a lot about strength training. Why is strength training so important for women in particular?
Yeah, I wish I had known about strength training way back when. I was introduced to it when I was 16 because my friend's brother was a bodybuilder. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go, because Michelle, you're going, I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really realize what that meant. So when we talk about the science of strength training right now, we know that with age, we lose muscle really quickly, start to lose it when we hit 30. And it's really important because, one, it's an active tissue, so it helps maintain so many different systems in our body. Not only that, but we think about strength training and how it puts leverage on the bone to improve bone. But the big thing really is when we think about cognitive decline. So we see that there's a sex difference as we get older in Alzheimer's, dementia, cognitive decline. And it has to do with brain metabolism, so that's the fuel that your brain uses, and what we call neuroplasticity, or how your brain adapts and creates neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
If we're strength training, then we're taking care of our bone and our muscle, but it's creating signals to the brain to increase its ability to be really plastic. So it's like, I need to have a new pathway. Let's develop that pathway. And so it's always changing. It's like Sudoku, right? You're mentally working on that. But strength training does the same thing, but it also improves overall metabolism. So now your brain is very flexible, and it's like, okay, well, I need glucose, but then I can use lactate. So when you start doing all of these things, it reduces your chances of developing cognitive issues. So for women, I'm always like, strength training is great because we're building all these things, we're changing our body composition, but for the long term, we want to have a good body and a good mind. So So if we're doing these things and creating more pathways and developing existing pathways and making the brain very responsive and able to be flexible, then we're going to have a really good, sound mind when we're all doing Zimmer frame races when we're 100.
What are Zimmer frame races?
You know those frames that old women have to use or old men?
I've never seen them. I don't know what you're talking about.
In the nursing homes, you haven't seen those silver walkers?
Oh, yes. I thought
Yeah.
there was a game you were talking
No,
about.
no. So the
I have a feeling you're not going to be using a walker. I have a feeling
yes.
you're going to be the one teaching us all how to lift weights when we're 90 years old in the nursing home together.
Well, no, I'll be using a Zimmer frame. I'll be doing the races with everyone else because I can't say that my joints are all that great.
So what is the biology behind building muscle, and how is it different for men versus women? Like, what do women need to know?
Women are what we call more fatigue resistant. So as I was describing earlier, the differences in muscle fiber types, right? So women have more of those fat burning, we call endurance fibers. So that means that you can do lots of work and then you recover relatively quickly. So when we're looking at sets and reps and things like that, women don't need as much recovery time between your sets and reps to be able to have the same kind of training stress. Now break that down.
Please, because I don't know
Yeah.
anything that you just talked about. I was
Yeah.
like, sets, reps,
All that
just,
stuff,
okay,
right.
what are we doing?
So say you have a man and a woman that go to the gym and they're like, okay, I'm supposed to do 5 sets. So that's,
5 sets?
so yeah. This is
a lot.
I know, it's an avatar.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
let's just use an avatar of somebody who is just starting.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we're gonna what's the bare minimum, doctors? I'm looking for something I can succeed at. 5 sets sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I'll get to there,
Okay,
but I wanted to explain the biology.
Okay, you tell me the
I'll
biology.
give you the biology
Okay.
and then I'll give you the actionable
Thank
where
you.
to start.
Thank you, Dr. Sims.
All right, so if we take a man or a woman, they go to the gym and they have this similar program where
Okay.
they're supposed to do 5 sets of 5 reps on the 3 minutes. So what does that mean? You do 5 reps of a squat in 3 minutes. So however long it takes you to do those, and then you rest the rest of the time for the 3 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe it takes you 30 seconds to do your 5 squats, and then you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to recover.
Oh, okay.
And you do that 5 times. So that's 5 by 5. So
Okay.
if a man and a woman both do that, and we look over time, the relative strength gains, so that means relative to sex and body weight. Man will acquire better strength gains than woman. But if we were to change that recovery for the woman to go 5 sets on 5 by 5 on the 2 minute, so she does it in 30 seconds and has a minute 30 recovery, then over a course of time, she'll have the same outcomes because her body is like, I don't need as much rest. So it starts to kind of downturn with so much rest. So you can put more training stress on in less time as a woman.
Wow.
So this is one of the things that we're starting to really discover in the strength training research because it's relatively new. We're like, okay, we know that there's sex differences in the muscle fiber types where women have more of these, endurance type fibers, men have more of the fast twitch glycolytic fibers. So if we really want to maximize the outcome of our strength training, we need to work to women's physiology where they don't need as much rest to get the same kind of stress and outcome.
And you know what I like about that? It
Time
means it
efficient.
doesn't take as much time.
Exactly.
And I
time
don't have a
efficient.
lot of time, so
I
that's
know.
very good news, Dr. Sims.
Yeah.
I'm about to ask you a bunch of questions about the specifics of what we should be doing, but I have one question. Whenever I'm complaining about my body or, feeling out of shape or whatever it is that I want to change, my husband always turns to me and says, well, don't forget, abs are built in the kitchen, not in the gym.
Yeah.
Is this like a man's, is that what works for men?
That works for men, definitely. Yeah.
Because when I hear that, abs are built in the kitchen, not in the gym, I'm like, am I supposed to starve myself? Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So this comes back to the, the fasting, and I get really frustrated when more men will drop alcohol, they'll drop sugar, and then all of a sudden their abs are ripped, right?
Yes.
They're like, belly fat gone.
Yes,
But for women, we tend to store belly fat.
correct. And if I'm not drinking,
Yeah.
I want results.
I know, but it doesn't necessarily happen.
No, it doesn't,
No.
Dr. Sims.
It doesn't.
This is not fair.
No.
Because because I don't understand my own body.
I know. It's very frustrating.
And I've been listening to the bro science of my stupid husband telling me the advice that works for him. And he's only trying to help. So so why does it not work that way for women?
We have a higher percent body fat, for one, and again, it comes down to food intake and hypothalamus. So if we start taking out food and not replacing those calories with something else, then we end up in a lower energy state. So that could be a whole nother podcast, but basically we're not eating enough to support body composition change and health outcomes. So if we talk about abs in the kitchen, if we're eating the same kind of grandparent diet, then we're gonna have the same outcomes, right? But if we have the extra 20 bit of life where we're having chocolate and whiskey and all those fun things, man can take that out and get super ripped. Woman takes it out, there's no change. Why? Because the hypothalamus is like, where are those calories? I need those calories. So if we want to eat a little bit cleaner, we have to make sure that we're actually providing enough calories. So if we're providing enough calories and our body's like, yep, sweet, we got enough for all the things that we need to do in a day, overcome the stress, and we got enough to fuel the training and the changes we want with the exercise we're doing, you're going to get those abs.
Wow.
And then the compound movements, like working abs in a functional way, not doing sit-ups, but like doing deadlifts or squats where you have to use your abs as a support mechanism, builds them faster than you see, guys on the floor doing lots of sit-ups or Russian twists. Yeah, they're going to get those strong abs. But for women, it's better to do this compound for the torsion, to be able to use it as support, because then it allows us to stand upright and have better posture, because our center of gravity is down in our hips. Men's center of gravity is up in the chest. So if we're working to control our posture and develop the strength through our core, and we're standing up taller, our abs show.
Wow. Because I would be a happy woman if I never had to do a crunch again. So if I'm actually lifting, that could be true. So let's talk about the specific things we should do.
Okay.
What is the minimum amount of exercise that a woman needs to maintain her health and to be strong?
If we're looking from an age standpoint,
Okay, let's start with our 20s.
in our 20s, you can get away with a lot,
What does
right?
that mean?
So that means that you could do bare minimum a couple of days a week of mixed aerobic and strength training. So you don't have to do that much.
Okay,
So it could be a total body circuit set twice a week. And
that means like going to the gym and doing the machines?
you could do that, or you could do an at-home circuit where you can do what I say every minute on the minute. So you warm up with stretches and mobility for 5 or so minutes, and then you have 5 minutes where 1 minute is jumping lunges, the next minute might be some push-ups, the third minute might be some overhead thrusts, where you're pushing something overhead. The fourth minute might be some air squats, and then the fifth minute is completely off, where you're recovering. You do that circuit 2 or 3 times. That's all you need.
Wow, you don't even need equipment.
No, that's your bare minimum. Right?
Okay.
Because we're talking bare minimums.
And talk to me about cardio, because we've all been so obsessed with
Yeah.
cardio. So is cardio a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
So cardio is interesting because it's about intensity. So if
Okay.
we're talking about going for a walk, that's really good. Like you're walking with a friend, perfect, because that's going to allow you to have some metabolic change. It's going to improve your blood glucose. It's going to improve your body's stress resilience. And hey, you get to hang out with a friend, so that's great. It's community, it's connection, it's all of the great things. So that's one kind of cardio. If we're looking at improving our blood pressure, you can do some walking, but what we find is true high intensity work that's really directed. We call it sprint interval training, where it's 30 seconds or less, as hard as you can go, and it doesn't have to be running. It could be kettlebell swings, be air squats, jumping lunges, could be running, could be cycling, anything that's going to make you go as hard as you can for 30 seconds or less and recover for 2 minutes. You might do 2 or 3 of those, and that is such a strong stress that it creates this whole cascade of change that improves your entire cardiovascular system.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm tracking. So one thing that you would tell us to do is to do sprint training, which sounds horrible, but it actually, as you broke it down, was like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
30 seconds or less of something that's high intensity, whether you're sprinting on a treadmill, or you're doing kettlebell swings, or you're doing push-ups, or you're doing jumping jacks, or just something.
Right.
And then you rest for a minute and a half.
minute and a half to 2 minutes, because we want a full recovery from, it's more of a central nervous system recovery, because we want to be able to go just as hard, if not harder, for the next interval.
And then how many of those am I doing?
So you don't want to do any more than 5.
Oh, I love the minimum.
That's it? Yeah,
I can do that.
that's the maximum. 5 is the maximum.
Now we're talking, Dr. Sims.
Some people will go, oh, I can do all 5. And then they start, and if they're doing it properly after 2, they're like, I can't do anymore. That's fine. You've got that impetus of stress. And it creates this whole cascade where all of a sudden your muscles are releasing signals called myokines that now is telling your liver, let's not store that visceral fat. We need that fat for other things. It's also telling your body, we don't want to store under the skin subcutaneous fat. We need that fat for other things. It's also telling your muscles to open up and bring carbohydrate in, so our insulin we become more sensitive to insulin. So there's so many great things about that high intensity. And by the way, your blood vessels are going to respond really well. So you get better blood vessel compliance, vasodilation constriction, so better blood pressure control. Because again, your body responds to stress. And it's such a strong stress, your body's like, there's this whole myriad of things that I need to be able to do that stress again. So it's a really effective means of getting heart health, better metabolic health, and better body composition.
And burning fat in 30 seconds of effort.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually gonna do that.
Good.
That sounds like because when you were going to box, I'm like, I think I can absolutely do it. And I also love that it doesn't take a lot of time.
No. I mean, I come from a huge endurance background, but now I'm traveling, like I live in New Zealand, I'm traveling the world, I have a daughter, I have a business, super busy, and I still want to exercise because 1, it helps with stress resilient. 2, yeah, I'm like, there's a little aesthetics and vanity in there, of course. And sprint interval, it's so between lifting 3 days a week and some sprint training, that's pretty much what I do, because that's all I have time for.
Lifting 3 days a week, and that sprint training we just heard, a 30-second burst, full recovery for a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and try to do it 5 times maximum.
Yep, and sometimes I put that on the end of my strength training. Because if I'm already at the gym, I might finish with some Aerodyne bike, 30 seconds as hard as I can go. So I'm maximizing time. So I don't spend any more than 45 minutes to an hour in the gym.
So if you had the bottom line, what a woman should be doing in her 20s versus her 30s versus her 40s versus 50s and up, what would it be?
So strength training across the board.
Okay.
The type of strength training you do is different. So when we're in our 20s and our early 30s, we can do some of the protocol stuff that is out there for men, like you're doing your 10 to 12 reps, or you're going to failure, or you're going in and you're doing a full body workout. You're going to get results. As we start to get into our mid-30s and onward, we start to have changes in our estrogen and progesterone, and it doesn't quite work for us.
Okay.
Because now we need to find an external stress that's going to create the same responses that those hormones used to support.
Okay.
So now we want to look at more of a power-based type training. So
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So 30 and up, your hormones change, and now the 10 to 12 reps that we've all been socialized to do
Not so
does
great.
not work, which is why we all start bitching about the fact that our bodies are not responding to what we always used to do. This makes a lot of sense, Dr. Sims.
So when you're doing the higher reps, it's more of what we call metabolic stress. So that's more like muscle contraction using fuel.
Yeah.
But it's not an impetus to build lean mass or to become stronger. So this is where I say the power base. So when we're talking about the spectrum of weights and the reps and sets and stuff, power based is 0 to 6 to 8 reps.
Oh, I love that.
You're like,
I can do
"Wow."
less?
Yes, but it has to be heavy.
Okay.
It has to be heavy lift.
Okay.
Yeah. So that means that you go and you pick up, say we pick up this 20, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're like, oh yeah, I can do 10 overhead, no problem. Maybe I can do 2 more, great. So we call that 10 with 2 reps in reserve.
Okay.
We want you to be at a 6 with 2 reps in reserve. So that means I would have you put the 20 down and pick up those 30s. And see, can you do 6? Really good.
Wow.
Not failing form. And then could you eke out 2 more? Great. That's the weight that we want you to use.
Gotcha.
So
I'm definitely lifting way too light, and I'm lifting far too much of it, like the little tiny 2-pound weights with the.
Don't put those down.
Put those down, like those aren't doing anything for my
No.
chicken wing arms?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at
Well,
all.
that explains it, because I'm like, why does this hurt so much? And I'm getting 0 result here.
Yeah,
But my
because
daughters literally look like they're cut. Wow.
they respond well to metabolic stress. As our bodies get older, we need more of a central nervous system.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So the general takeaway here is that when we hit that sort of late 30s to 40s mark and our estrogen is dropping and our bodies are changing and we're not getting the same results, we've got to really focus on these sprint trainings and also doing weight training where the load is heavier but the reps are shorter.
Yeah, but I don't want women who are listening to go, oh, I heard Mel's podcast and I have to go lift these heavy weights and do sprint training. It takes time
Yeah.
to learn how to do things well without getting injured. Because, when we get older, we're more susceptible to soft tissue injury, joint injuries. So I always want women to learn how to move first. So if you've never done any kind of strength training, don't be put off by, oh, I heard I have to lift heavy weights, I better not do it at all. No, any kind of resistance is good. Maybe it's just body weight at the start. Maybe you're doing a body weight circuit, and then maybe you're putting a backpack with some stuff in there to make it a little bit heavier. Maybe you're following somebody online that's teaching you how to move properly first. And over the course of time, you can add load because your body is learning how to move and it's becoming stress resilient. So you add load to increase that stress. And then over the course of 6 to 8 months, you're going to be lifting heavy weights and doing the sprints without injury. So it's not a training block. Like we've all been conditioned to, what do I do every day, in and out,
Yes.
so I can get X results. We want to think about, what am I doing to improve my overall health, my strength, my bones, my brain, so that when I'm 80, I'm self-sufficient. When I'm 90, I'm self-sufficient. It's not a training block, it's a lifestyle that we want in. So it takes time to build into that lifestyle.
So I have another question from a listener named Aaron. Is it better to use machines or free weights?
With machines, I want people to realize that it's hard for a woman to actually get the machines to fit well because they are designed for a 5'8" to 6 foot guy who's 160 to 190 pounds. So if you are outside of that norm, it's really hard to get the right fit, which can predispose you to injury. If you are just getting started, it can be a way because you're not going to put a lot of load on. You're not going to get as injured. For me personally, I'm not a huge fan of something like Planet Fitness, but I do appreciate the fact that they've opened the doors to so many people to make lifting accessible. So a woman can go in and use their machine circuit and get some resistance and some load to start to get themselves resilient so then they can move away from those machines and get into dumbbells. I like more of the free weights where you have a barbell or a dumbbell because you have to use more of your stabilizing muscles, which is how we move anyway. Because you're not going to go pick up a bag of groceries just with your arm, right? So if you're looking at bicep curls or tricep dips on a machine, that's not functional per se. Yes, you're adding load, but I like it when people are, okay, I've got to lift the groceries or I've got to lift this overhead, so I'm going to do a full squat using my abs and I'm going to go from ground to overhead. It could be with a plate, could be with a dumbbell. It could just be that motion at start because we have to think about how we move in the day.
I would love to have you talk directly to the person listening who has never stepped foot in a gym. Because I do think, even though I'm in shape and I know a little bit about what I should be doing, I always feel intimidated when I go to a gym because there's always guys, like it's filled with guys.
Yep.
And there's more and more women, which is great, but if I walk into a gym, even at a hotel, and I'm seeing all the machines, and then I see the free weight space, and then I see the little spacer, and I don't know exactly what I should be doing.
Right.
I don't stay long and I leave. And I would love to have you, since you've been in this industry for so long, talk to the person who wants to do something and wants to learn about this, but the idea of actually walking into the local gym is just daunting.
Yeah.
So what do you want them to know, though, about the people at the front desk and the way that people at a gym think about somebody new walking in?
Yeah, so gyms are super gendered. I sometimes get intimidated.
You do?
Yeah. So I'll say, like, if I go to a typical bro gym, like a Gold's Gym, I'll walk in and I'll see the lifting platforms, and there's some big dudes. And I'm like, maybe I'll come back. I'll go do something else first. So it's still there because the gyms are so gendered, and it's a fault of that industry. Where you walk in as a woman, the front desk person looks at you and goes, "Oh, okay. How much weight do you want to lose? Here's the cardio machines. Here are our classes." If a guy walks in, they're like, "Yo, bro, how much weight do you want to put on? How much muscle? The lifting platforms are back there. We have bumper plates, and our dumbbells go up to 80 pounds. So, it's all back there." But it's so gendered, even if you feel like I'm going to go to the free weights, because you have to walk through all the treadmills and the ellipticals and cardio.
Yeah.
And then the free weights are here, and then the lifting platforms are at the back.
Yes.
So it's not surprising that someone who's not ever been in a gym situation doesn't want to go into a gym situation. And the way that we can get started in this is put the gym out of your head at the moment, right? So we can look at, there are two main things that allow women to thrive in strength training. One is knowing what to do, and two is community, right? We see that working out with someone else is fun, for one thing, and two, it allows you to push yourself a little bit harder. It's just intrinsically you want to keep up, or you don't want to look like the weak link. It's just a psychological thing. So community, working out with someone is super important. So if you're someone who's like, "I don't want to go to the gym, I don't know what to do," well, we can look at some of the online things that are out there. So like if you're really super, super basic and you want someone to work with, maybe one-on-one or maybe a small group, you can look to someone like Loretta Hawk, who does Loretta Loves Lifting. She's she trains her mom, she trains other people who are just trying to really understand how to do stuff in their house. So it's a very basic way of starting, and you can move forward from there. If you're someone who's like, "I got that part, but I want to work out with a friend and we want a set program," then maybe you look at someone like the Betty Rocker, where she has specific programs where you can work out with her in her community, or you and a friend can work out together. And that's a way to do more stuff with dumbbells in the house. Then we can move forward and go to something like Haley Happens Fitness that I've partnered with, where it's from the gym, where you actually have an app that shows you what to do. You can go into the gym, you know exactly what machines or barbell or dumbbells to use. You bring in a friend, you can both do it together. So you're like, "Here's my app, this is what I do." You can record everything, keeps progress, and you know exactly what to do. And it's guided for 12 weeks, and it's progressive overload, so you get benefit. There's lots of conversations, there's lots of community around it. Or you can even look, if you're really confident and you're like, "Yep, I got that too, I want to go straight to barbell with some dumbbell," then you can look at something like Annie Torresdotter's Empower, which has a page from CrossFit. So there's all sorts of levels that you can find. And the big thing is grab a friend. Have a friend and have that ownership to say, "For 20 minutes, let's meet, have our conversation, and do this together," because we're going to get strong together, and it's fun. I've been trying to get my daughter engaged in some strength training stuff, and she's 12. We have a project coming up where she needs to know how to move properly. And I have her working with one of my friends in a high performance gym, but it's not lifting, it's moving and having fun. So she has another little friend in there who's a surfer and a soccer player, just like she is, and they go there and they have fun. She came back the first day fizzing going, "I didn't know how fun it could be at the gym, especially when you have a friend." I'm like, exactly. It's the adult playground, but little kids are being exposed to it. It's like, "Come into my playground.
Oh, I
Let's
love
play
calling it
together."
a playground.
It is absolutely a playground. Where else can you jump up and down on things, and then there's a rope and you can pull the rope, or there's a sled you can push and pretend you're a bear, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Everyone's there sweating, everyone's there doing stuff. It's like, make it time to play. Don't make it something that you're like, "I don't want to go, this is too hard."
And I appreciate the list of resources, and we'll make sure to link to those in the show notes. So I have a bunch of burning questions that listeners submitted, okay?
Yeah.
And we may have covered some of this, but I'm just going to hit these so that I make sure to cover the things that people kept writing in about that they wanted you to answer Dr. Simpson.
Okay,
Can you talk about cold plunging?
sure.
Should women be doing it? What are the mistakes that we're making? What's the difference between men and women in cold plunging?
So inherently, women don't need as cold.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I
We
know.
don't?
No.
Why?
When we're looking at stress response, because that's how I view all of the environmental and exercise things, is what kind of stress it puts on the body. When a woman gets into ice cold or cold water and gets in there, it invokes such a severe, strong stress response, much stronger than a male's response, that her body goes into more of a shutdown phase where it invokes a sympathetic drive, and it doesn't create the metabolic changes that we see with men. If you were to take a woman and put her in 15 or 16 degrees Celsius, which is around the 55-degree mark, she'll end up with the same responses that a man has, because it's not a severe shock to a woman's body as it is for a man's. Why is that? Because we have more body fat. So we tend to vasodilate and vasoconstrict first for controlling our temperature, where men will vasoconstrict and sweat.
When they're cold?
No,
Oh,
when we're
in
talking about
general.
just in general.
Okay.
So if we're taking a woman and putting her in ice, the body's first response to environmental change is severe vasoconstriction. And with women with Raynaud's, we have a stronger constriction response because it's a protective mechanism. For men, they'll constrict and then start shivering to induce heat. Women will just constrict. If we put ourselves into that 55 to 60 degree water or 15 to 16 degrees Celsius, we'll constrict and then start shivering, so we'll get the same benefit. It's just the ice is too cold for us to start that shivering. So we need the shivering for thermogenesis to get some of those responses. So we don't need ice, we need cool water.
I have been doing this all wrong.
And do you feel uncomfortable when you get in the ice?
Well, I mean, I live in southern Vermont, so there's
so you-
always like an ice slick on the thing, and you're like having to take an axe and, cut off the top of the barrel or keep an agricultural bubbler in it to keep it from freezing. It's got to be at least 32 degrees.
Yeah, too cold.
And my husband gets in it, and he's like a freaking like meditation zen. He just gets in, sits down, he starts shivering. I climb in that sucker and I'm like, and then I can barely breathe.
Yeah.
I never shiver.
Right.
And the shivering is what you're supposed to be doing in there?
Yes, because shivering is an automatic response for survival. Because when we're shivering, we're increasing metabolic heat. So we're able to keep our core temperature elevated so we don't die. And it's a strong response that the body has to cold. For women, when we're vasoconstricting and we're trying to hold heat in, we don't have the capacity because water on the cold skin is pulling out the heat so fast that the body is just getting colder and colder and colder. And we won't really start shivering when it's that cold. So when we're looking at, like, if you get in the ice, it's way colder than if you get into a plunge pool that's cold. So if we have 4 degrees plunge pool, 4 degrees Celsius, so that's about 38 degrees Fahrenheit, you sit there in a little microclimate and you don't move at all. You'll create a warm bubble around you and then you might start to shiver. So that's what we say, if you fall through the ice and you're trying to swim, it's like, no, just try to bob there to keep this warm microclimate around you. So if you get in cool water and you don't move, then you might start shivering. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. So for women, let's look at a little bit warmer so we get the same kind of responses and adaptations that men have.
And if you do this in 55 degree water, so it's more cool, it's not ice cold.
Right.
What is the benefit to a woman's body by doing a cold plunge, and how long should you be in it?
So when we look at a cold plunge, the whole idea again is environmental stress. So we start to see an improvement in our parasympathetic, sympathetic drive. So now we're able to get into that calming because again, body becoming resilient to stress. We have an increase in our body's capacity for using glucose. So we have better insulin sensitivity, better blood glucose control. We have some signals to lose some of that deep body fat. And we start to see better cardiovascular responses. But women do better in the heat.
Okay, talk to me about this.
Okay, so when we look at sauna exposure, women can tolerate heat a lot more than men. So if we get into a sauna that is 80 degrees or 60 degrees Celsius, so that's on the upwards of, gosh, metric math.
I
hold
keep
on.
forgetting you live in New Zealand. I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you talking Celsius? I'm like,
And-
okay, that's why.
And science.
That's
Science
all
is-
that's true science.
Science is Celsius. So
130 degrees.
okay, we'll go with that. A woman can sit in there, sit up high, 20 minutes or so, not sweating yet, right? Absorbing heat, vasodilate, it's great. So we're heating ourselves. Our body's responding to it by what we call heat shock protein responses. So these little proteins that will uncouple and then recouple and be better for it. So it's creating a whole cellular change that then is like, okay, now we have better responses within the muscle. The muscle can use glucose a lot better, can use fat a lot better. We're also increasing blood flow to the brain. We're also improving our blood vessels so they respond to to constriction and dilation a lot faster, which is important as we get older and start hit perimenopause. We start having blood pressure problems. And it also allows us to hit higher temperatures on the outside, so like summer times and things, without having undue stress. Because the women, by the nature of being women, struggle more in the heat. So if we environmental heat on the outside, but when you're in the sauna sitting there, it takes time for the body to heat up because of our thermoregulatory differences between what men do when they get in and they start sweating profusely, and then they get dehydrated and they don't have time to adapt as well to the heat as women do because we vasodilate first and then we start sweating.
So if you have access to a sauna, do you recommend that women sit in a sauna for the health benefit?
Yeah, I do.
How long, like what would you recommend, like if you have access to this? Because I see a lot of the bro scientists out there talking about the magical benefits of a sauna, but now I'm starting to go, okay, for dudes, but what about for me?
Yeah.
And so what is the benefit or the protocol for women to get the maximum benefit for us?
So when we're looking at for health benefits
Yes.
and not performance benefits, because there's
Yes.
two different things. So for health benefits, if we are doing 10, 15 minutes twice a week, bare minimum, you get health benefits. So this is better cardiovascular health, so better blood flow, better blood pressure. We have metabolic responses, so we have better blood glucose control, better fatty acid metabolism, so your body, I'm going to use more fat as a fuel.
Like meaning you're gonna burn more fat if you sit in a sauna?
You will use the circulating fat as a fuel instead of storing it.
So
Yeah,
And this is my kind of exercise.
that's
To
great.
sit in a sauna.
And it improves your exercise tolerance because when you exercise, you produce heat. And one of the limiting factors for women who first start exercising is the uncomfortableness of being hot.
Oh, and then my face
Apparently, we
still
like heat more
turns
than men.
like a tomato.
Bright red.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just
I
am,
disagree
there's something
totally.
about me that I can lift
Yeah,
one weight
I
and it's
disagree
like,
completely.
Yeah. And that's
All
that
the men in my life
vasodilation
prefer
first.
the
That's how
heat.
women offload heat first. And some women say, I don't ever sweat. It's like, well, because your body is offloading the heat so much through vasodilation and you're not in a hot enough environment to absorb more heat. So your body can thermoregulate and be fine, even when you turn bright red and you hate it.
another question that a listener has, should you eat before or after a workout?
This depends on what you're doing. So
Okay.
we know first thing in the morning, we've already talked about it, that you need to eat before you go. If you are exercising in the afternoon and you had lunch maybe 2 hours before, then you don't necessarily have to eat right before, but you do have to eat afterwards.
Thank you for
If you are
watching,
doing what we call
losers.
metabolically taxing, so high intensity exercise, cardiovascular